Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Temple Reef's Tips. Today I want to talk about how to minimize breakages in SPJ rods. Now here in Temple Reef every year we get about 10 to 20 warranty claims for breakages in SPJ rods. Now we find that by analyzing the breakages, most of the breakages, in fact almost all of them, are not due to defects in the rods but by handling error. And it breaks our heart to see our rods being broken in this way because many of these breakages are unnecessary, totally unnecessary, and can easily be avoided. Okay, now let's look at some pictures and photos of actual broken rods that have been submitted for warranty claims, allegedly for defects in the rod. Now look at these pictures. There's one thing in common. Almost all of them show that the breakage happened near the tip of the rod where the rod is thinnest, so the blank is thinnest. Now, it is probably fair to assume that the thinnest part of the blank is also the weakest part of the blank and therefore the most prone to breakage if there is a defect there when you're fighting a big fish under heavy load. But as we will show further down in the video, that is not the case with SPJ rods. Now I'm going to take this standard factory Gravitate G2 blank and put it on a rod testing machine, and you're going to see for yourself how difficult it is to break one of these rods. The test will also show why it is almost impossible for a slow pitch jigging rod like this to break at the tip. Alright guys, so this is our rod testing machine where we load our rods. Here, the butt end of the rod is clamped to a fixed point. And over here is a fulcrum, which is exactly where we would hold the rod when we are fishing. So the butt clamped under our armpits, and the reel in the hand here. At the tip of the rod, this is attached to a load cell, and the reading on this load cell can be seen on the monitor here. This reading is in pounds. Now let's start the test. Now we're loading the blank, and we'll bring the angle to 45 degrees. Now the reading on the monitor, the load cell monitor, is 5.1 pounds. We will now raise the blank to increase the load. £7. Alright, so guys, look at the bend of this rod. Notice that the tip section is totally vertical. This is subject to tension load because it's being pulled straight down. Most of the bend and most of the forces on this rod, acting on the rod, on the blank now, are here in this section of the rod. This is the middle part of the rod, and all the compression forces and extension forces that cause the rod to break are acting here. If this low pitch rod were to break, it is not possible to break at the tip. It will break here. Okay, so now let's carry on testing and see what it takes to break this blank. £10, £11, £12, £13, £14, £15, £16, 17, 18, 20, 21 pounds. Now look at the curvature of the rod. Again, you can see very clearly the tip is going straight down and all the load is taken in the midsection, and there it's gone. There it's gone. The amazing thing is, guys, look, the tip of the rod isn't even broken. The blank is fine. What happened was, the stopper at the end of the rod, holding the line in place, actually gave way. So the blank is in great shape even at a 22-pound load. Now you've seen how our Temple Reef blanks perform under extreme load. Every one of our blanks is subject to similar testing before it leaves the factory as part of our quality control procedures. Now let's watch a video of the actual testing that goes on in the factory. So this is a video of one of the quality control procedures we adopt for temple reef blanks before they are made into rods. We carry out this test on every single blank because we want to proudly sell our rods with complete confidence in their quality. And you can use them confidently, knowing how well made they are. So now that you've seen how it's almost impossible to break an SPJ rod at the tip, let me give you some examples of bad habits and bad fishing practices that cause tip breakage. Alright guys, so now let me show you one of the bad habits and bad practices that causes broken rods. You're trying to land a fish from the boat, you can't reach the line and the fish, you put your hand here and you reach out to grab the line. If what happens here is you have changed the load dynamics on the rod and changed the fulcrum by moving it further up. That means the strongest part of the rod is now behind the fulcrum and the tip is left to take all the load. If the fish slips from your hand, this will definitely cause the rod tip to break. This is a bad practice that can be avoided very simply by using a gaff or a landing net to bring your fish in. So this mistake is very common. Do not make this error. Another common way that causes tips to be broken is when line wraps around the tip of the rod and you get hooked up at the same time. When we are slow pitch jigging, we are commonly drifting with the wind in our faces. So when you perform a pitch, especially a high pitch, and when you drop the tip of the rod, there will be slack in the line. With the wind blowing in our faces, it's easy for a loop to form in the belly of the line and for that to be blown over the guides in the rod, causing the tip to wrap. So on windy days, it's important to pay more attention to what's happening to your line. One of the techniques that we use to prevent tip wrap from happening on a windy day is make sure that you don't use your rod to pitch the jig, because that will allow loops of line to form and cause tip wrap. A better technique is to keep the rod horizontal and work the jig by simply doing quarter cranks or half cranks or full cranks. This way there's always tension on the line, or some tension on the line, and that prevents loops from forming. Right, so now we've shown you how it's almost impossible to break an SPJ rod if it's fished properly under normal circumstances. We've also given you examples of bad practices and bad habits that commonly, very, very commonly, cause rods to break. We hope you learn from this and keep your nice rods safe from very unnecessary and very avoidable, easily avoidable breakage. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.